All right, good morning, peoples. Let's jump in here for Misty and MSTR MicroStrategy. Well, this fund is getting lucky. It positioned itself decently to get lucky, but it did. I mean, just it wasn't long ago that they had these 150s and they were going into the week of 830 on, 823 and they were right at 150. And then MSTR did a big sell off. So again, there those sell-offs help the weeklies. I mean, I always told that story in Tesla, right? When it was going down, going down, going down. Well, every week they're winning the weeklies, right? But you have a massive downdraft in what the value, and you ultimately, when that goes on for too long of a period of time, you get below $10 and so forth, then you're going to get a reverse split in the stock. And it's not that the reverse split is horrible itself. It just indicates that it's a declining stock. So my argument on people that say that doesn't matter, the NAV erosion argument, it does matter because some people say, well, if I get all my money back that I invested in what I paid for the stock and the stock's gone way down, I'm still getting free dividends. But guys, the yield on that dividend is much substantially discounted because the price of that stock has eroded so much. So a 20% yield or 30% yield that used to be 80 cents might be 10 cents, right? So I'm not saying it's not free income if you've gotten all your money back, right? But I think you need to consider that too. Total return. And then the other thing, like I said, that happens, it's demoralizing, right? So always try to look for an asset class or a single stock. It still can be in an asset class. I can buy Misty and I can buy Coney with the idea I believe in BTC because it's in their ecosphere, right? What's MicroStrategy? It's a small software company that's still figuring out their business model within crypto. Now, they were a business intelligence software company that was getting killed by Microsoft and big companies. So Michael Saylor restructured the whole company, and brilliantly, he put their treasury into crypto because he was a believer in BTC. And that's really made him infamous and everything else. It's still a struggling small little software company, but when you own 17 billion of an asset that you paid a fourth or a sixth of that for, that's a pretty good story. And if it continues as he believes and some of us believe, that'll go to 100, 150, 200, 250. I'm talking 5, 10, 15, 20 years. I could easily see $1 million price tag per Bitcoin because it is a limited asset, right? It's digital energy, it's digital gold, some of those kinds of things. And I'm not talking about the whole crypto landscape. So anyway, I'll get back into Misty. I won't venture too far off there. But be bullish on that because there's nothing wrong with it, but understand, just like in a Bitcoin ecosphere, you can go into a winter. We could run to 125,000 at Bitcoin and then come right back down to 74, 73, which has been the all-time high, and we need to break out through to get up there. And, I've never followed an asset class that wasn't in a parabolic up curve that didn't have a 50% correction along the way. I mean, I'm very bullish on where I think Tesla can go. But we saw Tesla go up 20x from $20 to $200, or sorry, $20 to $400. Then we saw it come down 75% to $100 from 400. Now we're back in the low twos. It wasn't too long that we ran back up to 270. So very volatile asset. These income funds don't always do well with that kind of volatility. Tesla has never really recovered from that big downturn and then that rapid move up, because they only participated in about a third of that rapid move up because they got massively capped. That's just some of the, and I know YieldMax and others are attempting to fix that with some of the methodologies. Okay, guys, let's jump in here. So $132.42 on MSTR. All right, you see it in a very of duplicate entries here. I'll explain. But you know, it ran to 150. We saw it 135, 131 over the last weeks or so. Went to 146, 140, down to 132, and we've hung around. What that's afforded them is winning their weeklies, but it's not giving us the desired effect in that we have 139 strikes on our synthetics. But that's okay. You know, winning the weeklies is a start, especially when you have a high number like this. They sold something for 440. Okay, so what happened? They waited till Friday, no problem, because they were well underneath, right? These strike prices were 148, 146, 150. There wasn't much doubt when we got into the low 130s that we weren't going to win these. So good job for waiting, getting the 3 cents and the 2 cents, right? So you get 99% of all the money. All right. And then naturally they had to write out for next week. It could have waited a hair later in the day, but not all that much. So obviously though, they laddered. They did a 137 to 138, and earlier in the week when we were higher, they wrote 145s and 143s. So those look really good for next week when we're at 132.42. These guys are 4.21 and 3.46, but you'll notice here, and this is the big guy, right? He's the lowest of them all. So that's close. But again, you know, Bitcoin to me is not very predictable in a 2 or 3 or 4 day type environment. It's much easier to pick or predict on a medium term and a higher term. I mean, certainly there's support and resistance and MACD and all kinds of other technicals. But they've done good over the last couple of weeks to come out of this versus this. Look at this 823. You sold something for $2.30. You sold something for $2.68. You sold something, and that's a huge. Look at that. You're buying back for $8. 3 times you lost. So you had to spend $24 million on something that they handed you $8 million when you wrote it, right? So that's ugly. So MSTR is looking at the first time in MSTY, right, having a low payout. It's lowest by far. Okay, so I'll get into that in a minute. So what they did get some shares bought, 375,000. So that helped them go out and put on these kind of trades. So they bought 800 additional 139s, and because we're well below 139, we don't have to pay that much, and that's a 10/18 expiration, so there's time. So they paid $12 and they sold the put for $19.65, so they're making money. Now, some of this, so then what they did, these 3 are matched, right? This is from the shares being bought. And then they sold a 138 for $2.15 for next week. And then this is closing out the positions, right? So buy to close for 380, small quantity, 3 cents. Buy to close 330 for 3 cents, right? Buy to close the big guy here for 2 cents, the 150. Good job. And then they collectively rolled all these together and wrote a 137. So 31,735 for $2.35. So in essence, that's what they did. All right. And you see all that here. The only thing you don't see is this, right? This is the transaction that they put on. So this got them another 612,000. Okay. Not much, but not all that bad. So they have a gain, even though it's a negative number of 2.3 million. And then they had their weekly calls written, and they collected, 98, 99% of the ones that they had already received the money for. So let's go take a look. So now here's your summary, right? Actually, these could be written at a bigger number here. I could just write a 31,735, but it's all right. Whoops, these should be 137s. Yep. I'll just do them individually rather than bore you with those details. One of Yeah, let's take a look here on August. So yeah, they're 137. The 800 is a 138. That's one of these here. Anyway, they're all so close. You get the idea. We want 137. We've got a 138. And what's our other one? We've got a 145 and a 143. All right, that's close enough. So some of them are in. This big grouping isn't that far out. Remember, we only have 4 trading days. And then we got some of them up at, 9.5% out of the money. So let's go take a look at holdings. And this sums it up a little better. This is how it really should look. 137, 138. Now, these guys are also 9.6. And these were the ones that were written prior to Friday, right? So we basically have a small quantity at 145 and 143, a small quantity at 138, and then the big bulk at 137. So I'll fix that over there on the weekly. This tells you, and I think this is up to date. Hold on a second. Yeah, it should be from last. I updated this. So we're behind 20 and 21% on these new guys. And on the existing guys, we're up 58 and 48%, right? So we're looking pretty good on those. Do I have the right share count up here? No, that needs to be 19,975. Let me get one other sheet, peoples. Okay. I gotta make sure I put the right number in here. 464660448. All right, let's see what we got. Yep, we're saying we closed at 23.20 and they're saying fair value is 23.26. Let me check a couple of other things to make sure I have that. Yeah, I have that 1847 178 and that number should be 13,025. Okay, so we got an 18 million, 33, 535, 13,025. Okay, 1035, 137, 28. Yeah, everything else is cool. All right. So the synthetic is now an $18 million loss instead of this 15 I'm showing. But we've stayed in that range at one point back a few days ago when we were closer into the high 140s, 150. We had a big gain there, right? Because it's a 139 synthetic. That's why it's negative right now. All right, guys. So the 375 is a little under 2%. And where you care about things, right? So let's go in here. So by winning those weeklies, writing the new weeklies, we at least positioned ourselves to say we have 87 cents captured, okay, in income. Now that's in short call altogether because of the synthetics. We're in a losing situation. So again, this is my estimate, okay? I'm saying that they're going to look at 87 cents and they're going to go, wow, $4, 253. We want this thing to pay $1. They may pay $1. I think I used 101. Now, they could very well pay the 87 cents only, right? And bring that yield down lower. Do I think that they will? No, but they could. So that's what I'm going with. But if you wanted a range, I would say it's about 70 cents to $1.01. That's that's the best case scenario. So I'm going to go with 101, peoples. All right, I'm going to put out my full, I got one or two more videos to do individually. And then into early evening, I'm going to put out my prediction video for all of the YieldMax funds. Okay, guys, again, this is Bruce with Targeted Wealth Creation. This is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. This is for fun and entertainment. See you, peoples. Bye.